Hello, my name is Katie Van Orden, and this is my EDC 150 Screencast Assignment. Criterion Reference Tests. They are designed to measure a student's performance against a fixed set of predetermined criteria or learning standards. Formative Assessment. They include diagnostic testing, which is a range of formal and informal assessment procedures employed by teachers during a learning process in order to modify teaching and learning activities to improve a student's attainment. This is going to be an example of a formative assessment. They are able to tell you things that they loved learning about during your lesson, what important concepts were going to be, 3 important facts, and a summary of the lesson so you know exactly what they did learn while you were teaching. Summative assessment. They are going to refer to the assessment of students where they focus on what they have learned throughout the whole unit, not just the one lesson like a formative assessment would be. This is an example of what a formative assessment would be. This shows a variety of things that the student is going to need to know in order to complete this test, not just one thing that they would have learned from your lesson. This is an easy way to remember how formative assessment and summative assessment go. Every step of the ladder is going to be a formative assessment, and once you reach the top of the ladder, it's a summative assessment, and it's going to cover every step of the ladder that you have covered until that point. This is called an evaluation triangle. In the evaluation triangle, there are standardized tests, formative, summative assessments, and observation notes. It's important to remember that we don't only use one of these in this triangle to grade a child. We need to use all of them, but we need to take into consideration how all the students learn and which is going to be an easier way to judge whether the student does or does not know what they are doing. This is the Brigance math test, which is only given to students that are in a special education classroom setting. For these tests, the teacher is going to read word for word what the student is going to be doing on each part of this test, and this is to determine, these tests are just to determine what grade level the student is learning at. So for example, on the right hand side it says the teacher is to say find the sum or difference, and while we are saying that, we are to point to section 2. The next part is write the tens and ones in each number. And then we are to point at this section that the students are able to do, and they're not to move on unless they are told to do so. On the left hand side, it tells you that they are to score at least 80%, which is 16 out of 20, in order to prove that they have solved first grade mathematics problems. Once they are able to complete 80%, you are to move on to the next grade level. Once they are not able to complete 80%, it is time to stop and grade them at that level. This is what the student will be writing on when we are giving the Brigance math test to them. This is where we will be pointing to each section as they complete as we talk to them. This is a great way to show the improvement that the student is making throughout the time that you guys are giving, the teachers are giving the test to them. There's spots for September, January, and May on this one to record what they have learned and how many steps they have made since the last time. When I gave my Brigance math test to the student that I am working with, he was currently able to complete all of the second grade math of the Brigance, and he is currently a 7th grade student. These are a great way to look back on when you're teaching a math lesson, to know what to teach in order to help that student continue to improve. This is the lesson that Heather and I came up with to help our students remember how to multiply and divide fractions.
Good morning, class. Today we're going to learn about multiplying and dividing fractions. For multiplying fractions, you're going to go straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So if you have 1/5 times 3/7, you're going to go straight across the top. So you're going to have 3, and then straight across the bottom is going to be 35. And that's going to be your answer. If you had anything to simplify down to, you'd simplify down that, and then you'd have your answer.
Okay, now we're going to move on to division. And when you're dividing fractions, the saying goes, it's as easy as pi, flip the second, and multiply. So again, if you have 1/5 divided by 3/7, you're going to take the second one, your 3/7, and you're going to flip it, so it's going to become 7/3, and then you're just going to multiply by your 1/5. And again, for multiplication, it's straight across the top, and then straight across the bottom. So you're going to have 7/15, and there's nothing to simplify with there, so that's just going to be your answer. Good job today, and tomorrow we'll be practicing more multiplication and division of fractions.
What I have learned. I have learned that special education students need a lot of time and practice in order to master a concept. For them to be able to master a concept, they have to have it repetitively and over several days of learning in order for their brains to comprehend what they have just learned. A lot of individualized instruction is very important to them too, and making the videos, such as seen in the last slide, is a great way to have individualized instruction in a special education classroom, especially when your students are at different levels all throughout the class. Something I really liked that was said in the article was, behavior of students with learning disabilities include needing constant step-by-step guidance for tasks they cannot remember problem-solving steps. Another is not being able to remember steps over time, and they may become frustrated with work that they are trying to do. I really like this part of the article because being in a classroom with special education students, we are able to see the different behaviors that the students are performing in the classroom every week that we are showing up, which makes it really easy to relate to this article week by week that we are in the classroom. And that is the end. Thank you.